I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. You have found your way to the program Birds Through Dakota Eyes. I'm Jenny Stamp. I'm the Associate Director of Public Engagement and Science Learning at the Bell Museum. And I want to start tonight by acknowledging that, like the rest of the University of Minnesota's Twin Cities campus, the Bell Museum sits on the traditional lands of the Dakota people. This land, from which I join you tonight, was reserved by the Dakota in treaties made with the US in 1805, 1837, and 1851. And though Dakota people were pushed off the land, it remains sacred and central to them today. The Bell serves all communities across the state, and so I'd also like to acknowledge the Anishinaabe or Ojibwe people, indigenous keepers of lands to the north, lands likewise taken despite treaty agreements. Dakota and Ojibwe knowledge systems are crucial ways of knowing this place now called Minnesota. At the Bell, we respect that knowledge and the values embedded in it. We value the people and communities that protect indigenous knowledge systems, and we seek ways to support them in their work. This year marks the Bell's 150th anniversary. We are committed to better understanding our own institutional history and our place in the indigenous dispossession and erasure that have happened in the past and that happen yet today. And we're committed to finding ways to redress the wrongs of both past and present and building respectful, equitable relationships. One small way we hope to do that is through our Indigenous admissions policy. In honor of the Dakota people, and for all Indigenous peoples who have kept knowledge throughout the world, we extend free admission to our museum galleries to all Indigenous peoples. We hope that you'll ask about this policy when you visit the Bell. Before we begin the program, I do have a couple of housekeeping notes for you. First, we'll hold about 10 minutes to take questions at the end of our program. If you have any technical difficulties, you can post those to chat. You can also post your questions to chat and we'll get to them at the end. Other attendees will not be able to see your messages in chat, but we have 120 some people and counting coming into the room. So there are others out there. We do have live captioning for our program this evening. You're probably all very familiar with this at this point, but if you don't want to see these captions, you can hide them by clicking the live CC button at the bottom of your screen. I am really thrilled to be with you for this program tonight. This is a program that we had planned to do in person back in March 2020. Neil, I don't know if you remember that. That didn't work out. But we're here now, and that's really great. Here in 2022, this program is being offered in support of a new exhibition we've just opened called Seeing Birds. Seeing Birds celebrates the Bell's 150th anniversary, and it explores our long interest in birds. It includes bird-related selections from our art, science, and education collections, and it focuses on the research done by Bell curators and their students, past, present, and future. It highlights the ways that DNA research teaches us new things about the evolutionary relationships of birds, including that they're descended from dinosaurs, or more properly, that they are dinosaurs. It also reminds us that science and other kinds of inquiry stem from thoughtful observation of the world around us. It shows that the way we see birds changes with new questions and with new ways of answering those questions. Tonight, we're focusing specifically on what looking at birds from the perspective of Dakota language and culture can tell us. I'm very glad to welcome aṟte Máza, or Neil McKay. Neil is a senior Dakota language specialist in American Indian Studies at the University of Minnesota's Twin Cities campus. He's a member of the, oh, Neil, I lost it, even though I wrote it down. Here it is. He's a member of the Minnewakan Dakota aṟte, or Spirit Lake Dakota Nation. And Neil, I thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Oh, opera. Ometake Chtatu Kinde no Oasana Yokpia Napi Chiusapido. Dakota aṟte Máza ish Machbia Chanduhu by Hemia. Minnewakan Yake H. Omawapi. Atewaye Dakota Inawaye Hatwan He Ink by H. Oapi. akeno bedewakanto Dakota himacha naku howanade wania to ota Minnesota won't be wakantia TPH Tawani Dakota won't be with Chakia much at all. Naku Iokpia Washkando, which hoch Nina Washte Wakidake do Hohechitu Naku Dakodia Biki he no Hinachche Dakodia Biki he on Spemichichedo Hohechitu do Naku Htai to Kinde Unshiak Iokpia Wahido. So I wanted to start and say hello, my relatives. Greet each and every one of you with a good heart and a handshake. Very happy to do that. My English name is Neil McKay. My Dakota name's aṟte Máza or Machbia Chanduhupa. I am Bidawakantua Dakota. You might know Bidawakantua more as Midawakanton. That's the anglicized form. And I am a citizen of the Spirit Lake Nation of Dakota people. And we say Miniwakan or Miniwakan aṟte or Miniwakan aṟte. And my dad is Dakota, and I follow Dakota ways. My mom is Ojibwe. She is a citizen of the Turtle Mountain Ojibwe Nation. So I am both Dakota and Ojibwe and a few other things. But I have been in American Indian Studies. I've been teaching Dakota language now at the university for a long time. And I always want to point out, I am a second language learner. I did not grow up speaking the language. I knew a few words growing up, the important ones. And I did not start to become conversational till I was about 25. And that was, I'm 52 now, so holy Toledo. And I'm just getting over bronchitis, so if I cough, that's why I'm fine. I just have a cough. But Dakota ekta wahupakosa ki henatake api he no tu kinde he iwo hadakiktido. So tonight, going to talk about kind of a focus on what do birds say. So we hear birds all the time, but do you even know what they're saying? Well, in Dakota and other cultures, the birds are actually saying things, and we have people who can understand them and talk to them. That's I'll pause right there. So first off, Tokahia. Ehana Dakota woyaka biwan ochichakaptido. So I'm going to start by telling you an old Dakota story. So I'll do it somewhat bilingually. I'll use Dakota words, but I'll translate what I'm saying. So, Ehana woyaka biwan ditch woyaka biunka unktomi ya unka. So a long time ago, an old story is told this way. Unktomi is going along. He was going along. Who is Unktomi? Unktomi means spider. But in Dakota way, he is also the trickster. So we don't have a devil. So we don't have that all one powerful source of evil. We have a trickster who is neither good nor bad, but they do some good and bad things. They're tricksy, as they say. So Unktomi yaha unka bide wanji ikiada kadayamani unkantaku taku tona no wayake. So he's walking along right near this lake. Bidege nina tanka. The lake is big. And as he's coming close to the lake, Bide edno chokatakya maga tranka kamagak si chatona na wawich hayankedo. So he's getting closer to the lake and he looks out, and near the center of the lake, at the center of their lake, there are some ducks, some geese, and some swans. So he's thinking, before he comes out of the clearing, the woods that he's in and comes upon the lake in full view, he stops. Uktomi inaji. So he comes to a stand. Naku kitanateha wiukchanaji. He's standing there thinking for a bit. Henano wakupa goza ki hena womayanka ki ha doksta hena wichawa hena yekta ki chimpikte. He thinks, if they see me, if those ducks, geese, and swans, if they see me, they're going to know I'm going to try and trick them because they know who I am. So I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to trick them, how I'm going to get them. Naku ni na wote wahadado. Ni na wote wahadado. I am so hungry. And I could really go for some ducks, some swans, and some geese. Oh, I'm so hungry. So Ichipash Hide. So he goes back to where he came from. He comes back just a little bit later, walks out of the clearing all proud. Naku takuanji aki wojuha wanji yuha mani. He comes out, he's carrying a bag on his back, walking kind of fast too. Naku magaksicha magatanka ki hena uktomi wanka pirka naku chokatakya. Yeah. So the ducks, the Swiss, the ducks, the swans, and the geese, they see him and they go directly to the center of the lake because they're like, oh no, it's Unktomi. He's going to try and trick us. Gee, that guy. And he's not paying him any attention. Of course, as he's carrying his bag, he can kind of see what they're doing, but he's ignoring them. He's not paying him any attention. And they're like, well, that's weird, because usually he tries, he's the trickster. So one of them says, hey, older brother, where are you going? Because they're part of the same creation. So they're relatives that way. Where are you going, older brother? And Uktomi doesn't even look their way. He says, and like he doesn't want to be bothered. And the ducks, the geese, and swans, they kind of look at each other and they come out of the center of the lake. So now they're heading towards Uktomi. Older brother, what is that you're carrying on your back? What is that you have? And he says, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to the powwow. And he starts to realize it's going to work. I have these bad songs. And they get closer. They're getting close to coming out of the water now, but they still know that's Unktomi. And they say, we want to hear bad songs. Will you sing for us? And he says, I can't. I'm going to a powwow. And they start to come out of the water a little bit. They're still in the water, but now they're coming out a little bit. And they say, oh, please, Unktomi, sing for us. Unkidawamp, sing for us. And he stops. He's holding the bag. And he looks at him, he says, you want me to sing for you? And they say, yes, please sing for us. And they're starting to come out of the water. They get near him. And he says, okay, I suppose I can sing for you. But before I do that, Heji wokia when she agagapte naku timahed weampte. First, you have to build a grass lodge. How he chunkumpikte to say, okay, okali dokali. So the ducks, the geese, the swans, they come out of the water, the rest of them, they go to work, they build this lodge made out of grass, however tall it is, however tall they are. Hey, Han, uktomi, wana timahed uyampte. So we'll go inside. So they start to file in. And he has a good poker face. So he's like, come on. So after the last one goes in, timahed eat ka tiopa ohananashi. Unkdomi is the last one to go in, but he doesn't go all the way in. He stands by the door. So he's in the door. And they're standing there looking at him. He says, okay. Hoana chichi doampte. Ka tokahia. A ohomani na wachi pikte. So, okay, I'm going to sing for you now, but you have to form a circle. That's how you're going to dance. Naku ishtohamuspo. Close your eyes. And you know what? They do it. They close their eyes. And just a little while ago, they were in the middle of the lake. They were like, oh, there's Unktomi. He's going to try and trick us. But now, that's how good he is. So the ducks, the geese, and the swans, they form a circle. They close their eyes. And he says, Due duancha ishta nishashaktido. Whoever opens their eyes, your eyes are going to turn red. So make sure, ishto homusia wachipo, make sure your eyes are closed while you're dancing. So they agreed to that. So he reaches in his bag of bad songs and he pulls out his drum, pulls out his drumstick, and he starts singing. He says, oh, wachipo, okay, dance. So ishtomus wachipo, ishtomus wachipo, ishtomus wachipo. So he's saying, dance with your eyes closed, dance with your eyes closed, dance with your eyes closed. Part of the song, he says, don't open your eyes. Whoever opens their eyes, your eyes are gonna turn red. So he's singing, they're dancing, they're having a good time. As he's singing, he puts down the drumstick, reaches in the bag, Chunksayuha, Wanina Tonka Ikikchu. He takes out this big club. Here comes the duck right by him. Kate. He kills the duck. Throws it in his bag. Here comes a big swan. Magatranka kihe kate. Ujuha onake. He kills it, puts it in the bag. He does that to a few of them. He's got a few duck, a few swans, a few geese. Then there's a big swan that comes passing by him. A pet. He hits him. He doesn't kill him, doesn't fall, just keeps on dancing. Unktomi hits him again really hard. Big swan just goes like that, keeps on dancing. And then Unktomi really lets him have it, jumps up in the air, crack. Well, behind that swan that Unktomi was trying to take down, but he was too big. Daku nach unka. There's a duck that was behind the swan, heard what was going on, heard that crack, and he opened his eyes and he saw what was going on. And he yelled out, Waktapo, Waktapo, unktomi unktepikte. Look out, Unktomi's gonna kill all of us. He's killing us. So then they all scatter and they actually wind up running over Unktomi because he's by the door and he was right there when they were on the way out. Not api, got ewanket. So they ran him over, they left, and he's laying there, dead. But because he's Unktomi, he doesn't actually die, he comes back. And he sits up, he's got, webbed feet marks all over his face and his body instead of tire marks. And he's sitting there, he's like, whoa, okay, well, I got some food at least. Nina wote wahadado, Nina wote wahadado. I'm hungry, I'm so hungry. So he stands up, brushes himself off. Inaju kanaku woju haki he ikikchuga iaye. So he stands up, grabs his bag, and leaves. Goes from that grass lodge. Unka wakbachis de wanjika hadayamani. Kitana teha he ikiadamani kahadayamani. He's walking for a while. He wants to look for a good place to set up his, so he can cook. He's walking along this river and he's making sure, nobody else is around. And he finds this little kind of shaded area right along the river. So he takes his bag, he puts it down, and he builds a fire. So he builds a fire. He said, puts it on there for himself. So now he's got the kettle going over the fire. And Maga Tanka, Maga Sicha, Wichak at Ehena, Woju Haetan Ichunaku, Chega, Wichanaka. He takes the geese, the swans, and the ducks that he killed, and he puts them in. They're upside down. He has the feet hanging over the edge of his pot. So these fowl are in there and they're upside down. And he's waiting for his food. He's standing there and all of a sudden, oh, Ishtamachba, Inawamatuka. Gee, I'm tired, I'm kind of sleepy. Should I take a nap? Should I take a nap? So he's thinking, he's standing there thinking. Who's gonna watch over the soup? Who's gonna watch over it's just me. I know. Unze. Koda, unze. Waha pikide. Awami. He talks to his butt. Did you know you can talk to your butt? Unktomi talks to his butt, his unze. Everybody try that word, unze. You just said butt in Dakota. So Unktomi is talking to his unze and he says, friend, you're gonna watch over the fire for me. It's decided. So Unktomi lays down and he points his unze at the fire so unze can see what's going on. How is unze, should anything happen, how is unze gonna alarm Unktomi and wake him up? There's only one way, right? True story. So he's laying there. He goes to sleep with aṟte pointed at the fire. As he's sleeping, syncope wa hiaya. Kanako wa hampi. Ki he omana. Oh, Nina washtaku washtemana he. Oh, washtewa dakido. Syncope is passing by. Mini he's in the river that Unktomi is camped by. Syncope is muskrat. So muskrat's coming, and all of a sudden, he smells the soup that Unktomi is cooking. And he thinks, wow, that's really good. I really like that. Where's that coming from? So he gets up out of the water and he sees the soup and he goes over and he looks over and then he stops. Wow, Unktomi is there. And he sees that he's sleeping. He gets close to the pot. All of a sudden, aṟte goes off. But Unktomi is so tired he can't hear him. He doesn't even notice. He's sleeping. So syncope cautiously he's keeping an eye out. He takes those birds out, puts them back with the feet up, takes a bird out, puts it back. I ate Unktomi's soup, he leaves. Pretty soon Unktomi wakes up. Oh, wana yupia wawatiktido. I am going to have an awesome meal. I am going to eat well. Koda aṟte wopida tonka ichitedo. Thanks, friend. Thanks, my friend, my butt, for doing that for me, watching over that. So he gets up, grabs one of the birds, just bones. Puts it back, grabs another one, just bones, and he's thinking, oh my goodness, it has cooked so long that the meat has fallen off. Oh, I am in for a treat. Starting to grab, and he jolly sees his bones, nothing but bones. Puts his ladle in the soup. Nothing comes up, no meat. Now he's starting to get worried. Sticks his ladle in, no meat's coming up, it's just broth. He gets mad, he kicks the kettle. Kicks the kettle over, just liquid and bones come out. He is mad. Wananina chanzeka. He is so mad. Aṟte achanze. Now he's mad at his butt. And he says, aṟte koda, I told you to watch over the fire, to watch over the food and the fire for me. You couldn't, you had one job, as they say. So he is so mad. Somebody took my food. I dumped all the broth out. My aṟte he's supposed to be my koda, my friend. That's a male term. And he decides, I'm going to punish aṟte. I'm going to punish you, aṟte. He's talking to his butt. How does he punish his aṟte? Well, he decides, I'm going to teach aṟte a lesson. So Unktomi sits down on the fire and he burns his butt. And Unktomi realizes it's attached to him. So he jumps up and he starts screaming, running around, and his butt falls off. That's it. That's that story. So in Dakota way, it's not for me to tell you the meaning of the story. It's up to you to figure out, because the creator gave us all powerful minds, kind of like a piece of artwork. 5 people go up, they all walk away with something different. Same thing with stories. We all take what we need away from those stories. But one thing about that story, so it did involve birds, but part of that story, part of it is the creation story. Because that duck that looked, he wasn't supposed to as a regular duck, but he looked when he heard that big the swan being hit over the head. That duck, when his eyes turned red, skiska ichare, that was the beginning of skiska. That's the wood duck. So when we tell that story, in passing in the story, something new has come into creation. So I have a bunch of stories like that. But you know, what do I think of when I think of that story? Don't leave your food unattended. If you have little ones, you might already know that. All right. So I just wanted to open it up with a story, but I am going to share my screen now. We're going to talk about what some of those, what some of the winged nation, what some of the flying nation, because they are nations unto themselves. So what are some of the things that they say? All right. Dakota ekta wachupa kozaki tak eapihat. So from the Dakota perspective, what is it that the winged ones, the people in the air, what do they say? What are the things that they say? Abadosha ki hetak eahat. What does Abadosha say? Or I'm all about, because I teach language, Dakota language, I'm all about differences too. Like I like hearing how things are said differently, or there's a variation. Wabadosha ki hetak eahat. So either word is fine. Abadosha, wabadosha, and you know that as, you know, red-winged blackbird, red-winged yellow blackbird. But what do they say? Okay. So I wanted to say wopeda to a few people. I wanted to say to Toshka Avery Jones, Jeremy Red Eagle, and Dermis McDonald. I had put out a request a few years back when we were originally planning this, and asking has anybody heard what the birds say? And there are quite a few, but just to share some of those. In Dakota, that's what that Wabadosha was saying. But what does that mean? Runny nose, or however you want to say that. I'm a little bit of a germaphobe, so I wasn't going to say snotty nose, but you could say that too. So what else? Okini. And the thought is, Okini means maybe, perhaps, but Okini, it's going to be spring soon. So right around this time, that's what Wabadosha is going to be saying. All right. I hope I have that right. It's the first time I've done this presentation, and sometimes I get things backwards, but all right. So that's what they say. So as Dakota, they speak Dakota, or we have our people who talk to them. So perhaps it'll be spring. Maybe it'll be spring soon. So the meadowlark, what does this say? So notice I have shido, Tashiaka popa ki hetak ea, that's another word. Tashiahamuka ki hetak ea. So, and of course, not being a bird expert, there's Western, Eastern, form of birds, but let's listen. Shido, ki he dak ea he. So all right. Wana o ia te kiktapo. Wana o ia te kiktapo. If you've woken up to that sound in the morning, this one makes sense. Time to get up, people. Wake up, people. That's what they're saying. One of the things that they're saying. So this is from Alex Fire Thunder. Imat hanchayado. Imat hanchayado. I'm the one who leads you. I'm the leader. I'm the head person. Shado shado haki hetak ea imat hanchado. Heard this one too. Hakoda dani kota. Hakoda dani kota. I like that one very much. Hello, friend. You are Dakota. So for me, I think about identity. You know, these days, not all of us are born or grow up speaking our language or knowing our culture, but our fellow creation, the ones that were here before us, because humans were the last ones here. Our fellow creation, our older siblings, they know what's going on. So, naku hotanka ekta shado shado haki hetak eahe. I have a typo there. Hotanka ekta. So this was from my first mentor, was this Ho-Chunk woman. And she told me where she's from, Wisconsin, Black River Falls. The Meadowlark are saying, and I cannot remember it in Ho-Chunk because I'm not a Ho-Chunk speaker. It's related to Dakota, but it is a different language. The English translation, the Ho-Chunks are back. The Ho-Chunks are back. And if you, a bit of history here, in the land acknowledgement that Jenny Stamp gave in the beginning, we Dakota people were ethnically cleansed from the state of Minnesota. We had genocide perpetrated on us. And we're not the only ones. The Ho-Chunks were also ethnically cleansed from Minnesota. This happened in 1863. But in Wisconsin, where the Ho-Chunks are currently located, they were also ethnically cleansed out of that area. And I mean ethnically cleansed. But they returned home. So under, possible facing imprisonment, execution, genocide, they kept returning because they're from that area. But these birds acknowledged it. The Ho-Chunks are back. So Hotanka ekta from the Ho-Chunk perspective. And I have one last one here. Ukcheki chaki hetak eahet. So the magpie. How could I? How could I? This was the first one I heard. My first instructor, my Dakota language instructor at the university, his name is Franklin Firesteel. He said he was back home on the reservation at Sisseton. One morning he came out of an outhouse, if any of you have been to an outhouse, and he came out and he heard, how could I? How could I? And he looked around and he thought somebody was there speaking Dakota to him, and he looked around and it was a magpie. That's what they say. Hakota. One of the things that they say. All right. Wanted to talk a little bit about Wambadit, the eagle, because the feathers have great significant meaning for us. It's spiritual, and we're the only ones that get to say that. Nobody can tell us how we should feel or how we should be able to view those things, how we should be, how we should see. And yet it continues. Colonization continues. So we are in the time now where to have an eagle feather is an honor. But because of the United States government, we have to have a piece of paper saying that we have the right to have an eagle feather. And you have to be enrolled in a federally recognized nation, which means the government has to recognize you. The United States government tells whether you're native or not, and you can have an eagle feather, which many of us bypass that. But these eagle feathers, they come from these beings, and these beings are here to help us. Again, they're an older part of creation, older than us, and they help us. And just to bring some awareness here, in recent times, bald eagles, golden eagles, they test regularly for lead poisoning, and it's from ammunition that hunters use, and the eagles, they go after the leftover carcass or whatever that has the lead in them. So the United States government, other people are trying to push hunters to use steel and copper, which does not cause the lead poisoning. But looking at a National Geographic article, the chronic effects of lead exposure. So it impairs their movements, flight, reducing sperm quality, making it impossible to swallow and digest food, and lowering immunity. And we're not being good relatives. Being a good relative doesn't mean just to humans. It means to everybody, whether it's that eagle, that fish, the sky, the earth, the water. So, and this is Chief Red Cloud Mahbiaduta, and he is wearing a headdress. And again, I'm all about education, so he has the right to wear this. Nobody else has the right to wear this, unless he says it, unless he were to pass it on. But again, these eagle feathers, he earned those. Each of these is an honor. And the way that you can put it in American society, colonizer society, what is a Medal of Honor? When somebody is awarded a Medal of Honor, does anybody just get to wear that Medal of Honor? Now, think of if somebody were to make a hat for fun, or for an album cover or a party, an album or something, or, out of a bunch of medals of honor that they found. Like if their grandparents or whatever had some medals of honor and they started wearing them, or they have no right to do that. It's the same thing with eagle feathers. So you're disrespecting these people, you're disrespecting the eagle. But these have great significance, whether it's spiritual significance, community significance, individual significance. But for myself, other Dakota people, many indigenous people, when we see somebody wearing these, that tells us that this person has been awarded these. They are awesome in some way. So that is something to think about, because in doing a search, if you do search for headdress, you're going to see a bunch of people, like I say, album covers, Halloween costumes. We're not Halloween costumes, we're people. And do you deserve the right to wear that? So something to think about. All right, and I'm going to wrap things up here. Dakota wo e. So Vidihech apozint kada wa ie wipeyu heshni cash chincha awicha ikshija. So when Dakota people go into like fighting, we compare ourselves to birds, because when birds fight, no matter what they're doing, they make sure that their young are taken care of. So while they're fighting, they make sure that their kids are taken care of. So it looks like when they're fighting, they're kind of flying, however, but in all different ways. But again, the focus is no matter what they're doing, their focus is on the children. And the last one here is we were created, humans, like our Dakota people, I could say that, like the birds. So they are role models. So it doesn't matter, these small birds, large birds, they're role models. They role model how we're supposed to be. In this case, how fierce they are taking care of their young. If you go towards a nest, if you've done that, think about that, what has happened. So, and I think I kind of want to, in the last few minutes here, wrap up the language nest. The indigenous knowledge on birds, just to kind of go beyond the Dakota scope, to tell you how we view them as role models. The Maori of New Zealand, they started these things called language nests. So they decided a couple of decades ago that they should start raising their children in the language again. The effects of colonization had taken some of that away to an extent. They decided we need to raise our kids in the language nest, because the young ones are in there. But why nest? Why use the word nest? And they said it's because when we are passing on the language, we're passing on medicine, we're passing on those nutrients, we're passing on those things that a young person needs to do well in life, to be healthy. Just like a bird, how does a bird feed its children? It comes back to the nest and feeds with the mouth. And that's what we're doing when we're teaching language. So when we teach language, we're supposed to be medicine to each other. When we're learning language, we're supposed to be medicine to each other. And that's what's going on in the nest. But again, those birds, you observe them and they do the things that we should be doing or could be doing. They're good role models. So in that, I just wanted to say, we have this phrase, mitakuye owasi. And that means that we're related to everything. And I said that earlier. We're related to the earth, the stars, that other human, that bird, that mouse, that insect. We're all part of the same creation. And the bird nation, they're so special because they have taught us so many things. Just to give you an idea, when I was in Italy, I got to see that contraption that, was it Da Vinci or Galileo, I can't remember, it was in the museum, but that flying contraption that he made. It looked like a hang glider, but it's based off of a bird. So many things in nature, they do effortlessly, and we're still trying to figure that out. So, that's all I'll say for tonight. I say a big thanks to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Neil. You just said that's all you'll say for tonight, but I think you'll take some questions, right? We have a few questions from the audience. If you haven't had a chance to ask a question, please go ahead and type it in the chat. Neil, I think you may have, either some people missed it or maybe we didn't hear what it is that the magpie says when it says how koda.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, friend. Yeah, koda is it's a male to male word. And as a man, I'm only going to say that to a few people in my life. In Dakota way, as a man, I'm lucky to have one, maybe two koda for my whole life. But people say that's a traditional greeting, maybe to it kind of a little bit to be formal, but really it's that your best friend that you might have, because you don't have best friends all over the place in Dakota. It's really just a few, but that's what the magpie says. Hello, friend. Hello, friend.
Thank you. There's a question about whether there's a publicized version of the, or maybe a published version of the spider story that you told.
Yes, there is. And it's bilingual. Actually, if you do a search for Riggs, R-I-G-G-S, Dakota Grammar, you'll find it in Google Books. It's a book that was put together in the 1800s. And that story is in there. It's called Odoan Shik Shiche, the bad songs. But it's in there in the Dakota, and then the translation is there. And the words for the song are there too.
Thanks for that. We have a lot of questions about people wanting to take on some of what you've taught us here tonight, and wanting to be respectful to Dakota cultures. I'm going to try and put some of these together. Some of these questions are about moving across the land. So a person is asking, when they go to aṟte, is there a way to show respect in a Dakota way while watching or studying wildlife? And then a similar kind of question comes about how you might feel about non-Indigenous people sharing the stories that you've told tonight. Are there protocols or anything similar that you would like to share for non-Indigenous people who want to talk about these things? And I'll let you try and find, those are some things that I'm kind of lumping together, and I'll let you try and figure out how you want to deal with that kind of question.
All right, so places like aṟte, and we talk a lot about it in the Native community. We talk about sacred sites. There are some sites that are in particular extra special, and we go there sometimes have to say a prayer, or connect with what's there with the earth, all these things. aṟte in what is now St. Paul, Imanijaska, is one of those places. And first and foremost, always go with a good heart and respect. I should also add, whenever I go to these places, I'm always, please pick up after yourself. If you bring even a water bottle or something, please, it's not, let's help keep those places clean. Give a hoot, don't pollute, if you grew up with that. But if you are aware of using tobacco, you can bring tobacco there as well. That's something that I won't go into here. That's something that, you can learn on your own. As far as telling these stories, you can tell these stories. I know at the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, it's a little bit different. Like they say wintertime, when there's snow on the ground, that's when we tell stories. It's the only time we can tell these stories. In Dakota, I've heard it quite a few times. You could tell stories year round. But I will say this about storytelling. Remember, I said it's not for me to tell you what that story means. I can tell you what it means to me, but our stories were a large part of our curriculum. So when I go see an elder or one of the old ones and ask them for advice, hey, I'm having a hard time right now with this, they might pull out some really old stories or personal anecdotes, personal stories. But I will say, and I've asked this too, what do you think I should do? They won't do it, because you have a mind of your own. They'll whip out all these stories, they'll kind of throw them out. And then when you leave, it's for you to kind of gather what you're supposed to do. And also in that way, you might figure it out when you leave. You might figure it out 10 years from now. You have to be patient. I know I'm 52 and that took me a long time to figure out, and I'm still figuring it out. So I'm not saying I figured stuff out.
Thank you. We have just tons of questions coming in, and we will try and follow up on the things we can't answer tonight. And a lot of thanks coming in to Neil. I'd like to put one more question in front of you in the time we have left.
Okay.
There are lots of questions coming from people who want to learn more, including some Dakota people who want to learn more about their own culture. To ask for some advice. Let's see if you can give us something cryptic to figure out later. what might you point people towards who are looking to learn more?
The best way to learn about Dakota people is to learn your language. And I recommend that. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying, like I say, I didn't grow up speaking the language. I didn't start learning until I was 25. But I can tell you that the number one reason I did it, because I am Dakota. I was raised to know that I was Dakota. And when I started learning it, I was told by the older ones, if you learn Dakota, there will be certain things that you will only come to know, see, and understand only if you speak Dakota, and they were absolutely right. And I'm not being cryptic or anything. They're, even going to a conference and sitting there hearing a first speaker and being able to understand that, that's amazing. Or have a good idea of what's being said, that has helped me. But so much of the culture is wrapped up in the language and vice versa. And for non-Dakota, for Euro-American, because I'm a teacher, I think everybody on Dakota land should be speaking Dakota. So we do have free classes through the Minneapolis American Indian Center. We teach Dakota language at the University of Minnesota. Let's see, I'll put my email up actually, because it's a university email, but because I'm one of the instructors, the other instructor is Shishoka Dutta. He teaches first and second year. I teach third, fourth year, and a couple other Dakota classes. But learning the language, it's the best way to learn about the people. And we do have some people in the community who are Euro-American, and they're helping to teach the language. Chante washtea he chunkumpido. They do it with a good heart though. So, but remember, learning language, lifelong, it's fun. Teaching language, you would never do it for the money. It's the get rich really slow program. So that should tell you something, but it's well worth it.
I think this has been a great last question to take, and maybe Neil, you and I can think about some ways to get some resources out to Bell audiences along with the video. We can circle on that. I want to thank you so much for everything you've taught us here tonight. I want to thank you for your time and your generosity in sharing. I also want to thank you for your work as a member of the Bell's Advisory Committee, which I didn't mention when I introduced you, but you've done so much to help us learn, and we all really appreciate that. To the audience, I want to thank you for coming. This has been really great to have this program tonight and to have such interest from the audience. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for your excellent questions.